Just imagine if the Alaska Purchase in 1867 never happened. The total cost of the state of Alaska from Russia was $7.2 million, dollars, the equivalent to around $130 million today if we adjust it to inflation. And right now, if the United States were to put Alaska up for sale, the total land would cost around $37 billion. So I would say the U.S. got a very good deal on that. Now, obviously, the United States is not going to be selling Alaska, but in general, the hypothetical is, what if Russia had kept Alaska, and at this point they would be on North America and they would own a major territory in North America? You can take a look in terms of the 50 total states. Alaska by far has the most total area, doubling up Texas. A lot of people forget about Alaska, but it is a very important state for the United States considering it's not connected to the U.S. It allows the United States more influence in terms of natural resources. It is top 6 in terms of all 50 U.S. states in terms of total minerals produced. And if it was still Russia's, let's say they didn't sell it to the United States back in the 1860s, which obviously was a completely different time in the world. You're not going to be selling, areas of land to countries, but back in the 1860s, with very few Russians settling in the Alaskan territory, they decided to sell, and the United States bought it, and the public perception was generally positive. The total cost, 35 cents per acre. I'd love to get a deal like that today, 35 cents per acre. I would take a marsh for 35 cents an acre, but let's talk about the hypothetical. It's present day, it's 2024. Russia still owns Alaska. I think it would create an even closer relationship between the United States and Canada, considering that would be Russia on the doorstep of northern Canada. And the United States would probably have multiple military bases, more military bases in Canada. You can take a look at the military bases that the United States utilizes in Alaska. There's going to be quite a few considering just where Alaska is located. It's not connected to the U.S., so it allows the United States to have more power worldwide with it being farther away from the connected 48 states. Not only that, but you would also have the situation with Vladimir Putin invading Ukraine. It's funny, I was doing this video and I saw a headline talking about Vladimir Putin saying the United States purchasing Alaska from Russia in 1867 was illegal and that he wanted to take Alaska back. You know what I say about Vladimir Putin? He was just born in the wrong era. He really was. I mean, this dude, he wants to take over land. That's 1920s, 1930s, Hitler, Stalin. Nowadays, it's a lot harder to do something like that. He can't even reform the Soviet Union without people going crazy, and rightfully so. It's a completely different time here in 2024 with the amount of nuclear bombs, with the upgraded advancement in technologies. Even Russia with their hypersonic missiles, any type of war is extremely dangerous nowadays based off of technology advancement than it was in the 1930s, the 1940s between Germany, Russia, the United States, Japan. But in general, if Russia still controlled Alaska, it would create a much more contentious relationship between Russia and Canada, along with the United States. Now, I'm not saying Canada is a puppet state to the U.S., but I do think the U.S. would have an even firmer grip and firm control over Canada to where there's an alliance. It's kind of like NATO. Like NATO exists, we know it's there to prevent World War III, but the general sentiment is the United States needs to be in NATO for NATO to work. They are by far the most powerful country in the pact. It's not even close. It'd be kind of like the same type of relationship between the United States and Canada. They already have a good relationship. Canada really doesn't have a choice based on how powerful the U.S. is, but it would be even upgraded more with the idea of Russia owning land in North America. It would be a completely new dynamic, and Alaska, the territory, has changed names several times. It was originally called Russian America from 1733 to 1867, and then they sold it to the United States. The United States named it the Department of Alaska for about 15 years, and then that name was changed to the District of Alaska all the way until 1912, when it became the Territory of Alaska up until 1959, and then it did reach statehood, the State of Alaska, 1959 to present day. That is the history of what Alaska was named. There's always been this far out idea. When you look at Alaska and just how close it is to Russia, that may scare people. Look at that's an easy invasion for the Russians. What if they get very powerful? The main problem with that is most of all of that land in Russia that you're looking at, like right next to Alaska, it's useless. It's completely uninhabitable most of the year based on how cold it is. Russia in general looks a lot bigger on a map. It's actually really warped and a lot smaller. It's still a very big landmass, but in general it is smaller. Yes, Russia and Alaska are very close, separated by the Bering Strait. There's the idea you could build a massive land bridge. This has been always a far out theory. Build a massive land bridge connecting Russia and the United States. That's never going to happen. It's ridiculous, but there are some interesting photos and renderings of the idea of connecting Russia to the United States through Alaska, because technically they are close. And if Russia ever did build a crazy empire, the problem is they just don't have the population. But if they somehow did, theoretically, if you were to invade the United States or invade North America in general, the ideal path, especially if you are Russia, obviously, considering based on where your location is to go through Alaska and Upper Canada and kind of come down and collapse on it. You would also need help from, multiple other countries, possibly to invade through Mexico or even South America, work your way up. I just don't think it's possible. There's always been the idea of invading America through the Pacific Ocean and landing in California. That's really not possible. The United States is just way too powerful. I mean, even if you were to try and go through Alaska and you took over Alaska, at what cost would it be? You would lose so many men. The United States and Canada would be ready. It would essentially be a suicide mission. There really is no way to invade the United States based on where they're located and also how powerful their military is. But in general, imagine Vladimir Putin comes out and tries to claim Alaska again. You're not getting Alaska back, buddy. That is pretty crazy that the U.S. bought it for what is around $125, $130 million, and now its value, all of the Alaska territory, all of the little islands off of the Alaskan Peninsula, it's valued at $37 billion based on its resources, based on its location, and just in general, think about this, based on human technology advancements, technically, every area of the earth nowadays versus 200 years ago is 20 times, 30 times, 40 times, 50 times more valuable. It's hard to quantify that, but that is true. It's just like our lives, our living quality has gotten so much better to where land is so much more valued because our living quality and our technology, the land gets upgraded in value just based off of evolution through our technology, and it's going to keep going up. It's going to keep going up because our lives are going to get easier and easier and easier, and we're going to be in more privileged positions with the advancement of technology. But just getting back to the idea, imagine Russia, Vladimir Putin controlled Alaska and tried to invade Canada. Wow. That would be a death sentence. That would be an interesting battle to watch. But either way, I mean, technically they're very close to Alaska anyways. I guess they could try and invade Alaska, but that's starting a war with the United States, a war that would be extremely horrible, possibly starting World War III. Guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.